Do you ever want to see inside another agency? Well, that is one of our top priorities over here at the Happy Clients Podcast. We interview unique agencies that are all across the board, and we want to learn how they are doing what they're doing, from their team structure to their goals, processes, their mindset. And today we have invited on the amazing Rickilee from the Copy Collective. She runs a copywriting agency, which is super unique, and her team are experts in the done-for-you sales copy for soul-led coaches, consultants, and healers. Talk about inspiring, eh? So in today's episode, Rickilee has a very unique approach to running her agency. And in this episode, you're going to learn exactly how she scaled up her team, including a client account manager, and her process to getting out of the day-to-day into that CEO seat, which I know is a huge goal for a lot of you listening in. So we're all about learning from unique, different agencies, and a copywriting agency is really cool. So we were really excited to bring her on board. And Rickilee is just such a delight, and we know that you are going to love this episode. So let's get into it, and let's introduce you to Rickilee.
Welcome to the Happy Clients Podcast, brought to you by Dot & Company. Whether you're a virtual assistant, an agency owner, or a client-facing account manager, we all deal with clients. Lucky for you, client management is what we do best. Now, let's dig in, chat cam life, and have some fun along the way. Cheers to happy clients.
So thank you so much for coming on. We're excited to chat with you and dig deep into the Copy Collective. So why don't you just fill us in on how you got here, what your background is, and how you became the owner of a copy business?
Yeah, it's been a windy road as it is for most people. So I went into the health sector. I was really into natural medicine. And before that, I was a wilderness guide. So I was taking youth and adults on long expeditions, 30-day trips in the Yukon and sea kayaking trips out on the coast on Vancouver Island. And I realized that wasn't necessarily going to be sustainable. So I was like, well, the other thing is natural health. So when I graduated, I was like, well, what do I do with this? And I didn't want to just stay in a clinic. I wanted to actually also have a business on the side too. So my partner and I actually started an e-commerce herbal supplement company for animals. This is long, believe me, there's a reason why I'm telling you this. So that tiptoed me into the online space. I had to learn a lot about e-commerce, obviously, and marketing and sales. And then a lot of my colleagues that I had gone to school with were like, okay, well, how are you growing this business? Your Instagram's blowing up. How are you actually selling everything online? How is this, what are you doing? And I was like, oh, well, let's get on a call. I'll just tell you about it. And I just started talking to other people and telling them about the online space. And this was years ago. And then I started realizing, okay, this is actually something I could do and make money doing. And so long story short, I started business coaching, and I was actually working as a business coach for about 3 years. And it became very evident that people were coming to me for messaging and brand strategy and the copy that I was writing. I went 3 years without missing a single day on social media of writing a caption. I was just I just shared every single day. And I thought that was a normal thing. I wasn't even it was just so easy. Not that it was easy to write and get, that's a whole journey, but it came naturally to me. And yeah, one day, one of my mentors was like, I think you're a copywriter. And I was really triggered by it. I was like, no, I'm not. I'm not a copywriter. I'm this isn't who I am. And she's like, well, I don't know. It seems like everyone's coming to you for brand strategy and then messaging and positioning. And so I was like, well, I'll try to do maybe some copywriting for other people. That really spun into just following that thread. And one person liked the service and they told somebody else. And next thing you know, I was transitioning my services and positioning my brand to be more of a copywriter. And you do the freelance thing for a while and you get to a point where you're like, well, this isn't something that's easily scaled. And well, I guess I need to change the business model, which Copy Collective was birthed from that. The vision was I would love to create a space where writers actually feel like they have a creative home. Because the big thing that I noticed was for me, running a business and writing, it was really hard to do the two things together. I needed that creative space to actually go in and write their strategically research-driven captions and sales pages and all those things, but there's still this creativity element. So I was like, well, this is perfect. I'm going to create an agency where I can still be in my zone with the business strategy. And then I can actually work with more people, write more copy, and give writers a space where they can come into this collective environment and just do what they do best, right? Which is writing. That's how that all came to be. And I really feel in my zone now. It's been like a long journey, and Copy Collective is growing so much every day, which is why you guys are a part of my life now. That's how we got here.
That's amazing. Honestly, I think the best businesses are born from an entrepreneur who is really good at something and passionate about something, and then just turns it into a business. And that sounds like what you've done, right? You realize that, oh, I'm actually really good at copy and I love doing this and I'm creative. Okay, well, let's make this into a business. And I think that is just such a cool way to grow an agency like yours.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks.
So thinking about even where you started and where you are today, Rickilee, what are the huge kind of milestones that you had to go through to really grow your business? Or what are those pivotal moments where you're making changes and you're growing and you're innovating? How do you get to then to now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, from the lens of innovation for our conversation today, I think the big thing for me has always been, I love this idea of innovating and being creative and trying new things, but it always has to come from the place of like, we're solving a problem, not because, oh, it would be really cool to create something new. So similar to my journey of how I got to where I am today with the Copy Collective, it's always been like innovation comes from a place of, oh, well, we're presented with a problem now. How can we, instead of just looking for a solution that we're just going to like mask on top of it, how can we find something that's specifically suited for my company, the people that we're working with? It's in alignment with our vision and our values as well, too. I think that they all come together. Specifically, it'd be really cool, I think, to dive into just recently what we've been doing in our agency is actually refining our entire social media caption retaining writing process. And I can tell you guys a little bit about why that's come up recently, and you guys can pick my brain, I guess, with the innovation side of it.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so really recently, that's been the main thing that people have been coming to us for. So we write sales pages and we write websites as well, but we predominantly work with coaches and consultants in the spiritual conscious space. So when they come to us for social media caption writing, it's a very intimate process, right? They're all personal brands. And we've really positioned ourselves as a brand that supports other personal brands with very like thought leadership-esque captions and very potent and powerful pieces that are grounded in strategy, but definitely are pretty profound. Like they can't just be like a couple sentences. They're like story immersed and really relevant with what's going on for the personal brand at the time. So one of our challenges recently is that's something that everyone's coming to us for. There's a lot of people. So how do we continue to give our writers space so that they can actually write these really profound social media captions while still staying really intimate with our clients and making sure that we like know the ins and outs of what's going on for them and ground it into their strategy. And yeah, so it was like, we need to create a different system here. And I can tell you like what we were doing was basically meeting once a month and then batching all of their content and being like, here you go.
Right.
And that's great. That worked to a point.
Right. Most people who are in the copywriting space or are in the agency space of creating social media, they do that. They have a strategy meeting, batch it, Bob's your uncle, you're done. But how do you write these compelling stories and with these thought leaders in a way that isn't maybe like batched out a month in advance, but still is working with your efficient timeframes and your margins so that you're still able to do that? Yeah, would love to hear about that.
I'll tell you, the first thing was like, I have no idea how we're going to do this. And any agency I looked at, I was like, nobody really has a model, at least the ones that I was like connecting with. I'm like, nobody else is doing anything different. I'm like, there's got to be a different way. We actually hosted innovation meetings for almost 2 months where we started actually just brainstorming at first with the writing team. And this was actually before we had you guys come in as a client account manager. We started this process. I basically took myself out of the picture as much as possible. And I said, what works for you guys? What's a dream situation when you're in your zone and you write these really great things? What are you getting from me? What are you getting from the client? What does your day look like? What does the space look like? And I just said, anything is on the table. We can talk about anything and everything. It can be like the wildest idea. This is a place for us to just dump everything and anything we can think of. So at first I was like, oh, let's just get together and like meet at a coffee shop. Like they're all in California. And I'm like, that's not going to work, but you guys are so cute. I really gave the team freedom to play at first. I think that opens up the creativity and the innovation wheel because we often think so much in the box. So what was really birthed from some of those conversations is the need for more regular check-ins with our clients, because a lot of what we do is here's the strategy for their brand, but then we weave in story, and we love to weave in relevant based stories so that it really grounds into what's going on for the clients. More regular check-ins, more space for the writers. And then for me personally, my challenge was not having everything presented at the end of the month to me or anybody on the team for any edits and revisions that were happening, because that also was taxing on me because I was going through a month's worth of copy instead of just a few.
But even I wanted to ask first, in these innovation meetings, is there a secret sauce to sort of like getting what you need or making sure that they're actually super relative to even your strategy or even what you want to post about? Because I'm sure like Taylor and I can get together and we can chat for hours, but probably no good social media content's going to come from that. What was the tactic to sort of get that from your client?
Basically what we came up with is that we wanted to still have a regular strategy meeting every month. We knew that that was important. And we decided that those meetings were very high level. What's coming up on your sales plan? How has your content strategy maybe shifted? What worked well last month? What's not working well? How can we improve? Those kinds of questions that we can also ask on forums and follow-up things as well too. But it was a way to check in and do more high level things. And then we also pull what's relevant for you, what's come up for you, what ideas do you have to sharing. We can pull key messages during those calls as well. But then we also implemented almost weekly check-ins where we turned on the audio feature on Slack and encouraged our clients to actually either communicate by written or verbally check in with us. And we're giving them regular prompts. It does a bunch of things. It allows the client not to feel so pressured to have to share all this stuff in an hour call on the first day of the month, where some of those captions aren't even going to be published for 2 months from them. So it gives them a chance to just pop in whenever they're inspired. And then for us as writers, it's like gold, because when we can hear someone speak, that's when we really can translate and get their tone of voice and translate that into captions. And then ultimately, then the other thing we implemented was a phase process with our writers. So instead of saying this is when everything's due for edits and revisions and final reviews, we actually do that every single week now. And we've broken down the captions so that it's not all 1 week we do this, 1 week we do that. It's every single week we do all the things for way less captions. So when I sit down and, let's say I was writing for you, Katie, and the writer wrote these amazing 4 social media captions and she's ready to rock. She'll hand it over to me and I'm going to sit down and I'm going to review for them. And I'm going to be like, ooh, you know what? Let's actually like tweak this one a little bit so that it says this, or have you ever thought about doing it this way? Or what about this? Or actually this one's rock solid, like no edits needed. And they can do that right away. And then it goes to a client account manager as well. She does also a review for things like triple checking character count, making sure we're using the right emojis, like all these little things. And then it's like, that's the first week of the month. We're already done a third of their captions. It's given the writers more space for when they're working with the client, because they're now not expecting themselves to come up with a whole month's worth of copy. We can check in with the clients and get more information from them. And we're not meeting with them every week either, right? Like it's really adhering to a lot of things. And from a business perspective, ladies, it's the biggest thing for me is life happens. So the other problem I wanted to solve was ever running into a situation where a writer was sick or something came up for me and I wasn't able to actually go through things. And now all of a sudden clients aren't getting things delivered on time. So now we have a system in place that if anything ever happens, it's never a big deal. We actually have so much space built into the process. So it just feels so good.
Wow, that's amazing. And I think it's so cool that you were able to just take a step back and say, what's working, what's not working, and maybe we can make some improvements and make this whole client journey way better. And that's innovation. That's amazing.
Absolutely. And I will just say too, I'm totally like a creative. So I also wanted to iterate the importance of how this is like a creative and really fun and innovative process, but it's now, because of the help of you guys as well, it's really grounded into SOPs, and it's actually like a process that's repetitive and repeatable. And like we know exactly what's happening. It's not just, have more space. Here's more time. I'm going to give you more time with your deadline.
It's a business, right? It's
a
before you might have felt like it was you and a team just creating things, and now it's turned into a real functioning business with processes and scalability, room for scale.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's awesome. So what was happening in your agency before you had a client account manager? Were you managing the clients, or how did that look?
Yeah, I was managing the clients, managing the writers, managing the systems that didn't really exist. Yeah, I was doing it all.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then now your client account manager, did she take all that off your plate?
Yeah, we're still in the early phases, but she's like rocking it. It's already taking over a lot of the things. And you didn't ask this question, but I'm going to tell you, she's the other thing too, as some other business owners will definitely understand. She's also been really good at supporting me in releasing that control. So like on the very first day, I was like, hey, just so you know, this is like the scariest thing of my life. And I'm so ready for it. I'm so excited, but I also am terrified. So every step of the way, just be like, it's okay, you got this. So we joke around all the time. Okay, I'm not going to answer that question. And I have full confidence in her, but it's definitely, it's a fun process.
Yeah. Wow. And I think as agency owner to agency owners, we have this dream when we start growing a business of someday I will not have to do all of things, right? It's in your head. It's like that big goal. And for some people it's, I'm going to be able to lay on the beach all day. But for most, that's not the reality. But we have this vision of, okay, someday I'm going to hand over the reins and this business is going to be bigger than me. And I feel like this was a huge step for you in your business to just like releasing that and giving the reins to somebody else, which is such an accomplishment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And that's definitely part of our process too. Like we need people like you, Rickilee, that are of course hesitant or like self-aware enough to know that like, these are my clients, my people. I've been talking to them for so long, but are smart enough to be able to sort of hand that over to somebody. And that definitely makes you even that much more of a savvy business owner, right? Like this can't all be on you. And just to see the proof is in the pudding, right? Then you can grow so much and really be innovative and be creative and let wonderful client account managers process it all out. So Taylor and I always say when you get hit by a bus, but I think we need to rebrand that because it's a little negative. So when you do win the lottery and go live on a private island, things are still running smoothly and you still have this really great business. That's such a win and such a growth for you, even maybe from the pet vitamin days.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, yeah. And then in that business, like I had a business partner too, right? My actual partner, Scott, my boyfriend, it's a little bit longer of a process before we brought in more support because there was already two of us. So even in there, it was, we can just kind of split and delegate the tasks there. But yeah, back to like some of your point around really like what I hear is like communication, right? As a leader, whenever we're bringing people on, you're not going to be perfect. And I'm like just of this belief that you don't have to just keep all that inside. There needs to be this professionalism and role model and you're a leader and like have these things in place, but also by communicating to my account manager and communicating to my team, hey, this is what I'm personally working on. This is what's going to be a challenge for me. It also allows them to feel like they can share those things too. And so there's just way more open communication and everybody has their own unique skills that now they can support each other with those things. But even when we entered into some of these innovation meetings, the first challenge that I faced was the writers not feeling like they can share ideas with me at first because they were like, well, Rickilee's the one who tells us what to do. And it's like, no, actually, this is an opportunity for you to share what works for you. So at first I had to share some of those wild ideas to give them an indicator of like, it's okay to share something that's not going to work or not going to be the answer right away. Like we're just going to brainstorm together for a while.
And so many of our agencies are lean teams, like small teams. So I think that's super valuable, super important to even have that sort of lens on the people that you're working with that are kind of contributing to the end goals. That's awesome. And I think it's really a really responsible move. That's like, we're all working remotely. And although we're in the same country, we may not ever see each other. We're all about relationships, obviously, but they have to just really stem from a really authentic place, which is awesome.
So Rickilee, what's next for you and your agency now that you've innovated, you've come up with these really amazing processes, you've hired a team, a client account manager. Now that you have a chance to look at it from a fresh set of eyes, what's next for you and your agency?
Yeah, we're really focusing on scaling more of the social media content writing side of things. I think it's something that a lot of copywriting agencies don't specialize in. So we're really focusing now that we have that process in place. We would love to like build that out. So we're bringing more of those clients in. And then for me, because of the spaciousness that's being created, I also love teaching. I really do. As much as I like the writing, I still realize the brand strategy and the messaging, like the content strategy, all that work is so fun for me. My favorite thing is being, let's pull all these like amazing golden threads about what makes you unique and weave it into this strategy. So we have a program called Copy Magic, but we have a new opportunity coming in 2022 for even more support with leaders who aren't necessarily in a place of delegation and they want to learn how to actually write their own copy. And yeah, I definitely wouldn't be able to do that if I didn't have support. It's just not possible. There's agency life. There's a lot of things going on. So yeah, more mentorship, more teaching. And I have a live in-person experience coming out that's very separate from copywriting, but I'll give you a hint. It has a little to do with the very first thing I talked about in my story. So that's all I'll say. And it's not...
Oh my God, what a teaser.
Is it in the woods?
Tell us when we're not recording.
That's right.
It might not be inside.
Oh.
Can Nova Scotians come?
Absolutely. It's definitely perfect for Nova Scotians.
We'll bring our sou'wester hats and rain gear.
Amazing. Yeah, you'll need rain gear for this.
Oh my.
Interesting.
Okay. More to come.
Yeah, so it's top secret for now, but I'll definitely tell you ladies.
As people follow you intently waiting for this news, where can they find you? Where can we learn more about you, Copy Collective, and all the things?
Yeah, so for me personally, I'm on Instagram. That's the best place to hang out with me, at Rickilee Walls. Rickilee is Rickilee. That's a little bit different. And then for the Copy Collective, that's at thecopycollective.ca on Instagram. This little teaser is definitely more of my personal brand. So if you're curious about that, hang out with me personally on Instagram.
Amazing.
Yeah. Thank you so much. It was so great to hear your story. I love hearing how you got here to become a successful entrepreneur. And obviously we are happy that you are finding all this space, growing your agency, and that we've been able to be a big part of that. So thank you so much for coming on. And definitely everybody go check out Rickilee and thecopycollective.ca.
Amazing. Thanks, ladies.
Cheers to happy clients.